Chapter 2. The Saiyan Revival. The skies above planet Vegeta were a deep, familiar red, casting long shadows across the city as the twin suns began their slow descent. The capital stood tall and proud, its spires gleaming under the fading light. Everything was as it had been, every detail preserved, untouched by the devastation that had ended their world. Saiyans stirred across the city, their groans and sharp intakes of breath echoing through the streets. Some stumbled, still grappling with the vivid memory of Frieza's attack, while others rose cautiously, their instincts warning them that what they saw couldn't possibly be real. King Vegeta was the first to rise with confidence. He stood tall on the balcony of the royal palace, his crimson cape billowing behind him in the light breeze. His sharp gaze swept across the familiar horizon, his expression a mixture of awe and suspicion. "Impossible," he muttered, flexing his fingers, half expecting them to vanish like an illusion. Below, his elite warriors began to gather, their confusion evident. One of them called out, "Your Majesty, is this real?" King Vegeta's voice cut through the growing murmurs, commanding and steady. "It is real enough," he declared, "and until we know otherwise we will act as Saiyans do, with strength and purpose." The warriors immediately straightened, their instincts to follow their king overriding their doubts. "We are Saiyans," King Vegeta continued, his voice rising. "We do not question our survival, we claim it. And now, we rebuild." The council chamber was pristine, every detail restored to its former glory. The banners of the royal house hung high, and the polished table gleamed under the chamber's lights. The king's most trusted advisors filed in, their faces a mix of disbelief and unease. "Speak," King Vegeta commanded, his tone brooking no hesitation. "What do we know of this restoration?" The head researcher, a wiry man with a scouter glowing faintly over his left eye, stepped forward. "Your Majesty, we've conducted preliminary scans, the planet's infrastructure, atmosphere. Everything is exactly as it was before its destruction. It's as if the attack never happened." Another advisor interjected, his voice steady but tinged with awe. "Even the capital city shows no signs of damage. The energy grid, the technology, it's all functional. This is beyond science." King Vegeta narrowed his eyes. "And the people? What of them?" The researcher hesitated. "They too are as they were. Everyone who perished during the destruction of planet Vegeta is alive again." The weight of the revelation hung heavily in the room. The king's voice lowered, dangerously quiet. "And how much time has passed since—" A strategist stepped forward, his scouter flickering as he adjusted it. "Sire, based on our star charts and the positions of the surrounding systems, nearly 30 years have passed. Yet, for us, it seems as though no time has passed at all." King Vegeta's jaw tightened. 30 years. He paused, letting the implications settle. Someone has done this. This is no act of nature. The realization struck King Vegeta with the force of a meteor. Among the chaos of the revival, one absence stood out with glaring clarity: his son. Prince Vegeta, the rightful heir to the throne, was nowhere to be seen. His grip tightened on the edge of the table, his expression hardening. "Where is my son?" he demanded, his voice echoing through the chamber like a crack of thunder. The advisors exchanged uneasy glances, their silence amplifying the weight of the moment. Before anyone could respond, the doors to the council chamber slammed open with a resounding crash. The room fell silent as Bardock strode in, his armor scuffed but his presence commanding. His scarred face was set in a grim expression, and his eyes burned with barely contained fury. "What's going on here?" Bardock growled, ignoring protocol as he marched to the center of the room. "Where are my sons? Where's Raditz? Where's Kakarot? Gasps rippled through the room. Such disrespect toward the king would normally be met with immediate punishment. But King Vegeta raised a hand, silencing the guards who had stepped forward. He studied Bardock for a moment, his sharp gaze appraising the warrior. "You have courage, Bardock," the king said, his tone neutral but edged with authority. "Few would dare address their king so brashly." Bardock didn't flinch. "I don't care about protocol," he spat. "I care about answers. I remember the destruction of this planet like it happened moments ago, and now I'm standing here, alive. My sons, I had a vision. They—" His voice caught for the briefest moment before he pushed on. "They aren't here. I must find them." King Vegeta's expression softened ever so slightly, though his bearing remained regal. "Your sons are not the only ones missing," he said. "My son, the prince, is also absent, and like you, I demand to know why." Bardock blinked, momentarily taken aback by the king's admission. He had expected dismissal or condemnation, not shared purpose. King Vegeta took advantage of the momentary silence to continue. "You're a warrior of exceptional skill," the king said, stepping closer to Bardock. "And you've proven yourself unyielding in your convictions. I will not punish you for your outburst, for I see the same fire in you that burns in me. I am placing you in charge of finding the answers we both seek." The council murmured among themselves, but a sharp glance from the king silenced them. Bardock straightened, his eyes narrowing. "What do you need me to do?" King Vegeta's gaze cut sharply to the nearest guard, his hand flicking in a curt, commanding gesture. The guard hesitated for only a fraction of a second before hurrying forward, a holographic data pad clutched tightly in his gloved hands. He stopped a few steps from the throne, his posture rigid as he extended the device toward the king. The cool blue glow of the data pad illuminated King Vegeta's face, accentuating the hard lines of his features. He leaned forward slightly, his cape shifting with the movement, and studied the screen with the intensity of a predator assessing its prey. The faint hum of the data pad's projection was the only sound, the chamber falling into a taut, expectant silence. The king's expression betrayed nothing as his eyes scanned the data, though the subtle tightening of his jaw suggested the information wasn't entirely to his liking. When he was finished, he straightened and offered a brief nod, a dismissal as much as a gesture of acknowledgement. The guard bowed quickly and stepped back, his every movement marked by the restrained haste of someone eager to be free of the king's scrutiny. He returned to his position without a word, the data pad's glow fading as he deactivated the device, leaving the room once again cloaked in the ambient light of the chamber. For a moment, King Vegeta remained still, his gaze lingering where the data pad's projection had been, as if the answers he sought might still materialize. Then, with the faintest narrowing of his eyes, he turned his focus back to Bardock. "The last known location of your boy, Kakarot, was a planet called Earth," King Vegeta said, the name rolling off his tongue like a command. "It's a world Frieza coveted. Go, find him. If Kakarot has not already conquered it, you will ensure it is brought under Saiyans' rule. If it resists, you know what must be done." Bardock nodded, a flicker of grim determination crossing his face. "Understood." Bardock didn't waste time. He gathered his trusted crew, Fasha, Borgos, Shugesh, and Tora, within hours of the meeting. The Royal Armory was abuzz with activity as the team prepared for their mission. Bardock oversaw the loading of a dozen Cybermen capsules into their ship, his gaze cold and calculating. Fasha approached him, her expression skeptical. "Cybermen? Are we really expecting that much resistance?" Bardock didn't look up. "We prepare for the worst," he said. "King's orders. If Earth's people fight back, we'll remind them what it means to defy the Saiyans race." Tora leaned against the side of the ship, arms crossed. "What do you think we'll find down there?" he asked. A thriving Saiyan colony? Or Kakarot ruling like the king expects? Bardock's jaw tightened. I don't know, he admitted, but we're going to find out. The ship's engines roared to life as the crew boarded, the hum of its power filling the hangar. Bardock took his place at the helm, his mind racing. The thought of seeing Kakarot again, of discovering what kind of man his youngest son had become, was both a source of hope and dread. As the ship rose into the air, Bardock cast one last glance at planet Vegeta through the viewport. It looked so pristine, so untouched by the destruction he vividly remembered. But he knew better than to trust appearances. Hold on, Kakarot, he muttered under his breath. We're coming. The ship shot into the sky, its engines blazing as it disappeared into the void of space. Behind it, planet Vegeta gleamed like a jewel, the Saiyans race alive once more. But for how long, none could say.